Now that is what I call a banger of an intro tune. Now, maybe a Christmassy vibe, but I'm going to call it a wintry vibe because Winter Olympics are coming up starting on February the 4th in Beijing, China. And we're going to have a few Winter Olympic very special guests coming on over the next few days and weeks. Very, very excited for it. Lockie, did you like our new little intro tune there?
Oh, mate, I loved it, but not as much as I'm going to love this upcoming episode. Harps, who do we have on?
We've got Tahli Gill. One of Australia's best curlers ever, I think it's fair to say. One of the only two to qualify for the Olympics, so that makes sense, I guess. Tahli, did you like our new little intro music there?
Yeah, it was really Christmassy. I love Christmas music, so it was definitely a vibe.
I'll tell you what, Christmas is overrated, but sorry, look, I don't want to get on to controversial topics. So anyway, Tahli, I know it's been a pretty whirlwind couple of weeks. You know, you've achieved a lot of goals of yours, I guess making the Olympics, qualifying and being on your favourite podcast. Where do we begin? I mean, which of those two honours do you rank the highest?
Gonna have to say the podcast is top of the list, yeah.
Okay, we'll speak for real now. I think it's been 9 days since you qualified for the Olympics, something like that. So how are you feeling now? Are you still feeling like just on cloud nine that you've kind of achieved this lifelong dream, or are you a bit nervous and kind of anxious to crack down because there's massive task ahead in just a month or so from recording time?
I think it's still like sinking in a lot. Like I can't believe it's been 9 days. Like that to me is gone so quickly. But just like it has been a lifelong dream, and I'm just excited. Like I'm not nervous or anything. I'm super fired up. I'm pumped. I'm ready to get stuck into training again and give it a real good go at the games. So still processing it a bit, but excited.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, how's your social medias been going? I'm sure that your DMs have just been absolutely flooded. I know we're chatting off air before. You've been doing podcasts. You're on the project the other night. I mean, you're getting a lot of media opportunity and a lot of attention. Yeah,
I'm not really good at social media. So that's, all the messages and stuff. It's been actually a little bit overwhelming at times, but just super nice to see how many people are out there supporting, and people who know me and people who don't. So that I think that exposure for curling is also really good in Australia. So hopefully we start to see a lot more interest and awareness as well. So if anything, it's all good.
Yeah, do you expect to see a growth sort of like from you making the Olympics? Like it'll be really interesting to see if more people sort of get involved in the sport as a result of both your and Dean's success.
I think there always is a lot more interest after the Winter Olympics, like for curling anyway, because people see it on TV and go, oh, that's really unique. I really want to give it a go. And hopefully having an Aussie team there will just be really big for it as well. So I hope so. That's definitely one of the things that would be really good for us making it.
Now, I know that you would have had to explain curling probably more times in your life recently than ever before. Do you enjoy having to explain it to people over and over again?
Well, I don't mind it. It's just more hard to find like a analogy for it. Like a lot of people associate it with lawn bowls on ice, which is somewhat like the concept of scoring is the same, but in terms of the physical aspect, there is like the sweeping and a little bit more balance and stuff like that, and strategy as well, because you have to almost like playing chess as well. So it is different, but the scoring aspect is the same. So we use that a lot.
I love how Harps asked if you mind explaining it to it, because I'm pretty sure his next question is to get you to explain it, but you won't need an analogy. All Harps, he has looked after you. He's a visual learner, so he's actually going to get up a YouTube link. Harper, play that video. And for our YouTube viewers, you'll be able to see this.
Yeah, so obviously you can't see the video if you're listening to the show, but what I'm going to do, I'm sharing the screen right now. Hopefully you guys can see it. I'm going to kind of talk the listeners through what's going on here. And by the way, I'm glad that you don't hate explaining to people, because that's what you're about to do.
Harper, what was your plan if you said, yeah, I can't stand it?
I don't know. I just, fingers crossed she wasn't going to say that. But we're all clear now. I'll kind of set the scene a little bit here. We're at an ice rink. Tahli and Dean, I was about to say Dali and Teen, but Tahli and Dean are about to take their shot, I guess. And they've both got these broom kind of things in their hands. There's rocks scattered around. And at the bottom, which I'm going to get you to explain now, Tahli, is the scoreboard. So can you explain how this scoreboard works?
So basically there's ends. So when you put, you have to shoot all the rocks up to one end, that's one end. So basically you're trying to get all of your stones closest to the center of the house, they're the rings that you see on the ice, and the very center, there's a really small, what we call a button. So you have to get your rocks closest to that basically, and the more the better.
Yeah, cool. And by the way, if you need to butt in and ask something as well, go for it. Or Tahli, if you want to explain something, go for it as well. Just tell me to stop and I'll stop.
I've got a quick question. So I always expected curling, so you don't wear skates on the ice. What sort of shoes do you actually wear? Because they look a bit like my school shoes I wore from year 7 to 9.
Yeah, so they're basically kind of you can really a lot of people make curling shoes out of runners. It's just kind of like a Teflon material, which is the slider. So that's on one foot, and it depends if you're left or right-handed. I'm right-handed, so the slider is on my left foot. And then on the other foot you have a gripper, so you don't fall all over the place. But they're basically like normal shoes, yeah. Okay,
cool. And the rocks, can you kind of explain the rocks? Is it actually true that they can only be cut from 2 specific places in the world? That's what I heard.
Yeah, so those rocks there are made from granite, which is found in Scotland. And that's where curling originates from too. So that's kind of a little bit of history. They weigh about 20 kilos, varying between 19 and 20 kilos. So they're pretty heavy and not something you would take in your suitcase, which I also get a lot of. And yeah, there's 8 per team, but for mixed doubles, we only use 5.
Okay, cool. I'm going to play it for a few seconds now and then give you another curly question.
Yeah.
Feel free to do your own commentary if you want.
Yeah.
I feel like I know what shot this is.
Tahli's about to take a shot here. Sorry, is it called a shot or is it called something else?
Yeah, shot, yeah.
Okay, shot. Cool. Now, Dean is holding a broom because he uses it, and you're also holding a broom, but in this shot, I don't think you use it. So why are you holding the broom?
It's for balance, basically. So a lot of people use it for when they slide out. And I also use it as well in the house. So my role in the team is the skip. So I use it to hold the line and sort of like a target for Dean to throw to. And then, yeah, if there's something in the house that I need to sweep out, that's what I use it for as well.
Okay, cool. And are you, you're the skip every single shot, yeah?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, cool. Play a few more seconds. So the stone is kind of going down the ice now, the sheet. Dan's giving a bit of a sweep. And so it's moving, kind of veering off now, starting to veer off. Do you know how the physics of this works and why it veers off?
There's a few things. So ice making is down to real science now. So it's the way that they cut the ice. They have a massive machine that basically carves the curl in the ice, but also the rocks too. So they sharpen the rocks. So it's basically sandpapering the rocks, and that makes them curl as well. So there's a few things that are involved, and also I don't want to complicate it too much, but the ice makers will also pebble the ice, so that's why you get the rock to glide as well, because it creates small bubbles of water across the whole sheet. So that's how the rock's able to glide.
Okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense to me. Does that make sense to you, Lockie?
Mate, I didn't pass year 8 and that made sense to me. That was very well explained.
Okay,
good.
Yeah, thank you, Tahli. We'll keep moving, play a few more seconds. So it's the same thing's happening. It's kind of curling off more and more. And just before there, I think you were saying hard line and Dean was saying 3. What's that all about? So
he's calling the weight of the rock. Basically, that's how far he thinks it's going to travel. We've got number zones. So it's 1 to 10. And basically it's where on the sheet past the hog line it's going to end up. If that makes sense.
Cool.
So that's the 3 was like really light.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. And play a few more seconds here and it's going to show the target. Yeah. So the target here, or it's called the house, I think. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. The house. So the blue kind of rings and the red ring in the middle, or the red circle, do they actually mean something or are they just for looks?
So that's sort of like the distance. So from the center of the house, it's you've got like the red rings are 4 feet and then the white is 6 feet and then the blue is 12 feet. So that's also how we communicate as well, as like where we want the rock to end up.
Okay. And with this, it's a kind of early shot within the end here, and your stone has kind of gone in the middle, but a bit of away from the center of the house. Is that a good shot, or have I thrown you under the bus and is it not your greatest shot here?
That was a miss shot.
Okay.
So, basically, I was trying to come in what we call freeze, like onto the yellow rock at the back. So it was a bit light.
Okay, cool.
And
thank you for that. And sorry again for
rock. That's okay.
Yeah, I think that's about it for the video. But Lockie, is there anything else that you want to ask about that?
I think Tahli's pretty much covered it all. Something I'm really interested in about is like what the curling community's like. So I guess like particularly in Australia, and then compare that to other countries where it's super popular, such as I think Canada has a really strong curling community. But like, how many people are involved in the sport in this country, in Australia?
So in Australia, I think there are about 200 members, and that just means it's like really close and it's pretty much a family, like family legit, or just feels like a family. So I play with my mum and my 2 younger sisters, and we go to training all the time together. So it's a real family affair. And I guess just like the vibe that you get at a curling event is just like everyone's there most people are there to have fun. Even the teams that are really competitive and high level, they're there to have fun and socialize, and you often like grab a drink with the team that you play against afterwards, and it's really cool kind of vibe. I like it a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also by the sounds of it, there's a very strong sort of family vibe to curling, because I know, I'm pretty sure your mum was involved in the sport, your sister or sisters might have been involved. I know that Dean's parents were also involved, so definitely I guess you all compete together as a family.
Yeah, definitely a family affair. Both my sisters competed in curling, and we all sort of like played in a team as well together. So pretty cool.
Does the kind of maybe issues you'd have as a team in curling, does that spill over into the like household daily life?
Yeah, sometimes. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of curling talk at home, and sometimes we bring family issues onto the ice, and sometimes we bring curling issues to the house. So it gets a bit complicated, but it's always good fun in the end.
I guess the good thing about competing with your family is it's not too hard to have very robust communication. You'll tell them how you feel.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we don't shy away. We're a very open family, so we pretty much tell it how it is, and there has been a few fights on the ice, but it's just good entertainment for everyone else, really.
Yeah, overseas as well, you're in Canada now. Is it similar there? Is it really tight-knit community, even though it's much bigger? Or is it more like this ultra-competitive scene where everyone's just out there to win?
There's definitely the same sort of atmosphere. There's, I guess in Canada, because there's so many people that play, there's definitely a big difference between the top teams and sort of like the teams that are trying to break through. So there is that difference, I guess, in terms of the teams that are already at that elite level and teams that are trying to get there. But it's still fun. It's still really social, and everyone knows everyone, and the curling community on a global level is just super close. So it's pretty cool to be a part of.
Yeah, awesome. And over here, obviously being such a small community that it is, there's no proper like curling rink. You just use ice hockey stuff and stuff like that. So there are all these different sports in Australia kind of competing to get the government funding and a bit of a leg up over the others and try to get this rink for curling, in curling's case. Why do you think curling deserves to be the sport that gets government funding?
That's a good question. I think curling is just one of the most inclusive sports. Like, you can start at any age, really. And like, Dean played with someone who was, I think, 87 the other day. So it's super inclusive of all ages, gender, and, you know, you have wheelchair curling. So I think it's a sport for anyone, really. That's why I think it would be great.
You said Dean played with someone who was 87 the other day. Is that not like, aren't you two meant to be teammates? Or, like, what's going on there?
Well, he filled in for the club that we train at in Canmore. They needed someone to fill in, so he filled in on like a senior men's team, and one of the players was 87, I think.
Geez, Steph,
cool.
imagine rocking up to your local curling club and you just have to face a bloke going off to the Olympics in a month. You just got a replacement. He's just going off to the Olympics. Bloody hell, that's an absolute stitch up. But I think when we touched on before about sort of the family values, you're obviously away in Canada at the moment. How long have you been away for, and how tough has it been, in particular with COVID, that you've probably been restricted in how much you can see your family? Because I think curling is a lot of the time you're based overseas.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the other winter sports, they're overseas a lot too. So it's kind of just a thing you accept as a winter athlete in Australia. But I've been away since early September, I'm pretty sure. So it's been a while, and be away till February, and it gets tough at times. It sort of goes in waves for me. Like, sometimes I really miss home, and other times I'm like, whatever. But yeah, it is what it is, and it's worth it in the end. So yeah.
So every 12 months or so, how many of those months are you spending away?
I actually worked this out the other day. So this year I would have been home 5 months out of the 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is,
a bit less than half. Yeah. So
Yeah.
has COVID changed how much you're home and how much you're away because of all these obvious border closures and quarantines and all that stuff?
Definitely. I think it just sort of limits the ability to travel a lot easier. Like, I think if there wasn't COVID, I would have probably gone home for a couple of weeks for Christmas before the games. But just because of COVID, and it's more the risk about traveling, and you don't know if borders are going to shut and things like that. It's all very touch and go. So that's the added complication with travel and COVID, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, you're one of the lucky few that's been able to travel this year. So at least that's one bright spot. That's one positive. But also, I don't know if we've mentioned this yet, but you actually compete in the mixed doubles, and your partner is Dean. Now, I'm interested. How did it come about, you and Dean teaming up?
So we knew each other from juniors. We both were he was in the junior men's team. I was in the junior women's team. We both actually went to our first event at the same time. So we sort of knew each other before, and then I played at a nationals mixed doubles with a different partner, and Dean was playing with his mum, and they sort of had a chat about maybe his mum would step out and a new person would come in who was younger, and just more a team that could develop for a few years. So he called me, and I knew him and always looked up to him as a curler, so I was stoked that he asked me.
So back in your junior days,
yes.
What are the core skills, or just for anyone starting really, what are the core skills you need to develop right at the start, and how do you develop those and train those skills?
Balance is probably the most important when you're starting, because just the slipperiness of the ice, a lot of people get tripped up on that. So balance, and that comes from your core. You got to be a little bit flexible, I think, as well, to get into the lunge position. And I think there's a lot of like positioning yourself in the right spot. So where you need to be on the ice and understanding strategy as well. You really kind of need to like that part of it as well, because it's a pretty big part of the game. So I would say those things are pretty important for when you're starting.
Yeah, I think those skills are all things that definitely would be important in the sport. But what I'm interested in is what about curling? What about it made you want to go to the highest level, to the Olympics? I think you got involved because of your family, but what sort of made you love the sport and stick at it for all these years?
Well, yeah, like my dream was always to go to the Olympics. Before I curled, I used to do figure skating. And I did both at the same time at one point, and then sort of fell out of love with figure skating and really started to get more involved in curling. I like curling for me, it's just the challenge that you have for like working out strategy and also, you know, challenging yourself each shot as well. That part is what I love, and definitely the social aspect as well. Like I've never been involved in a sport where you feel like family with some of your biggest competitors. Like it's just that part for me is awesome, and that's why I wanted to try and make it to where I am.
Yeah, so when you're a junior, obviously, and yeah, when you're starting off, Australia doesn't have the greatest curling facilities. So are you just like travelling all over the place all the time? I know that you have like the Australian Championships aren't even in Australia.
Because you were based in Queensland as well, weren't you? Is that
Yes,
correct?
yeah. Queensland based, yeah. And yeah, we have to go to New Zealand to have our nationals, which is cool because, you know, like more travel, I guess. But it would definitely make it a lot easier if we had a curling, at least one curling rink in Australia. But yeah, we've got a really good connection with the Kiwis. Like it's a friendly rivalry. And yeah, so that part's fun too. But a lot of travel, a lot of time away from home, and you just kind of got to make the most out of whatever curling rink that you're at.
Are the Kiwis any good at it, or are you just beating them every time?
They are really good. No, they're good. Yeah, they're good. We just like to beat them, that's all.
Yeah, definitely. I think I love the Australia-New Zealand rivalry in all sport. It's always nice to beat the little brother. I'm interested. So obviously you touched on a little bit more about the strategy involved in the sport. So would you say curling, what is the sort of split between the physical and mental? Because it seems to be a very strategic and a battle of the minds almost.
Yeah, so I think once you get to a certain level, it's definitely like 90% a mental game. Like at that point, you sort of have the same, like everyone's a really good player and everyone can make a lot of great shots. So it's down to understanding the strategy of the game, and the rules are changing every few years. So you kind of need to work out different ways and almost sometimes study your opponent to see what weaknesses they have, and that's how you can get a bit of a leg up on the other team. But it's really you got to be mentally tough, and it's almost a 2-hour game, so you just got to it's a battle for sure.
So when you're having your little tactical planning sessions with your coaches and with Dean, what do those entail? What are you talking about?
So I guess it depends on what point in the game. So after every end, we'll sort of have an end meeting and we go over what worked well that end and what our goal is for the next end, which sort of sets up what our strategy is going to be. So it could be making sure that the other team scores 1 or making sure that we try and score 2 or more. So that changes our strategy as well, what our goal is for each end.
And the game that you qualified for the Olympics for was against South Korea. What did you have to focus on before you played them?
Well, they're a solid team, and if you watch the game, they played really well. So we had to pick it up a little bit. We didn't have the best start, but our coach, John, he gave us a bit of a, like, come on, let's go. So that was really good. But at that point, you just gotta make as many shots as you can and try and generate points where you can. So that's what we were focused on.
Yeah, and for our listeners, that's John Morris, isn't it? 2-time Olympic gold medalist for Canada, absolute legend of the sport. But you've touched on the qualifiers. So what were your expectations heading in? So if I'm not correct, might be incorrect, but I think there was 2 spots up for grabs for the Olympics. I'm not too sure how many teams. So what were your expectations leading in? Did you think that you and Dean were a pretty solid chance of qualifying, or were you a bit? How were you feeling leading in?
I was feeling really good. Like we'd spent a lot of time. So there was 14 countries fighting for the last 2 spots. Every country is really good, so we knew that it would be a tough battle each game, but I was feeling really good with the prep that we'd done before that event. So I was feeling confident that we would, put ourselves in the best position to have a chance to qualify. And we did. So that was good. It all worked out in the end.
You did indeed. And why do you reckon you qualified? What kind of put you apart from the other teams? What makes you a good team?
That's a good question. They're all really good teams. I think for us at that event, we worked really hard with our sports psychologist on the sort of mental toughness, and you got to really grind through each game. So I think that kind of gave us a little bit of a leg up on the other teams. I'm not exactly sure what kind of prep other teams do. I know they all work really hard, but I think that the sports psych we worked really hard on, and that definitely helped our game, that event.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, for lots of Aussie sports, you've got, and sports around the world, really, sports teams, national sports teams around the world, you've got like the Wallabies, the rugby team, and the Matildas, the soccer team, and overseas you've got like the Three Lions, the English soccer team. Do curling teams have nicknames like that?
It's more like you take the skip's name. So
yeah,
mixed doubles, you take both of the names. That's why we're like Team Gill Hewitt. But for the 4-person team, it's whoever's the skip's last name is.
Maybe that's the next thing, Harper. Maybe we should work on that. We'll work on a mascot for the curling team in Australia, and I reckon marketing will just go up to here. Seriously?
Yeah, I agree.
We'd have that reek in no time, skyrocket. But Tahli, just quickly again, if you were going to make any nickname for the Aussie team, what would it be?
We've thought about this, and I really struggle with making names up, but I don't know. I feel like it has to have a curling theme. Like my mum really likes the bird curlew. I don't know if you know what that is, but they often, like around construction sites, they got really long legs. So I would say like the curlews or something. I don't know. I'm really bad at that stuff.
Well, don't mind. We'll pitch it to the Curling Federation. But Lockie, I think you got something?
Yeah, so I guess now we'll move on. So you've qualified for the Olympics. What are sort of your goals for the upcoming games?
That's something we're sort of having a break at the moment, but we're definitely going to talk about what our goals are. I think for me, I would love to finish in the top half. So there's 10 countries that are competing, and if we can finish top half, that would be awesome. It's our first game, so our goal initially was to just qualify a spot for Australia, and we did that. So we kind of got to assess it with John, and we'll see. We're going to give it a real good go, and at that level, and the teams we've played against, we have beaten them, some of them. So yeah, we're just going to go out and give it a real good go.
Yeah, the Curlos are going to do us proud.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, so we've got one final question before we get to our little quiz, which we alluded to earlier. But Tahli, do you have a life philosophy? Like any few little words that you sort of live your life by?
I think the biggest thing, I actually had to fill this out in a questionnaire the other day. So I think the biggest thing that I've learned and that's helped me is like whatever opinions anyone else has, it's the opinion of yourself that matters the most. So whatever you're telling yourself is what you're going to believe. So tell yourself something positive.
Yeah. First episode of the new year, good life philosophy to kick it off. But as Lockie just mentioned, it's quiz time, baby. Where do we begin quiz? And I'll hit the music. Oh, gets me very, very fired up.
Yeah,
Lockie, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm good. I know that you did give me a bit of a heads up to study Winter Olympic sports, but a bit like school, I didn't do my homework, so I'm nervous.
This quiz is very different to what we've ever done before. With our kind of Winter Olympic episodes, I'm going to just base all the questions off something related to winter or the Winter Olympics or something like that. So I've got 5 questions for you both. That's Lockie against you, Tahli. So I've got 5 questions for you both. You're going to have to guess what a certain Winter Olympic sport is. I'm going to play you a piece of commentary from said Winter Olympic sport, but the commentary isn't provided by some expert person who knows everything about the Winter Olympics. It's provided, in fact, by someone who doesn't really know anything about the Winter Olympics, my mum. So my mum's recorded, she's watched all these little clips and described what's happening, and you're going to have to guess from my mum's commentary what you think the Winter Olympic sport is. You can buzz in at any time throughout the thing. Tell me to pause it, say your name.
Okay.
And, yeah, I'll let you go. But once you get it wrong, though, you're gone for the question. 5 questions. of course, we'll start with the first one. You guys ready to go?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Ready.
Cool. I'm excited for this one. Nice to have a bit of variety in the quiz. So, first one. Here we go.
So he's got his hands on some handlebars and on a sled or some kind of toboggan, and he's down an icy ramp very, very
Lockie?
fast.
Lockie.
Bobsledding?
Bobsledding is incorrect.
Is it
Tahli,
luge?
do you want me to continue it? Say that again, sorry?
Luge?
Luge is absolutely correct. You've gone 1-0 up.
Is bobsledding even a
Nicely
sport?
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It's,
Jamaican bobsled team, mate, of course.
I've seen Cool Runnings. That's the only reason why.
Yeah.
There you go.
Tahli, what were you going to say, sorry?
Oh, I was just going to say, it's like if you've seen Cool Runnings, they all jump into the sleigh, I think it's called. I'm not an expert.
Anyway, you did very nicely there to get luge. We'll move on to the next one.
Okay.
So we've got a guy who's got his sticks or stokes. He's from Korea, and he's got skis on. He's got his sticks. I can't remember what they're called.
Poles.
And he's on flat ground. He's got something strapped to his back that looks like a gun. And he's-
Tahli. Biathlon?
Biathlon is absolutely correct.
Yes!
You've gone
buddy.
2-0 up.
Harper, if I lose 5-0, do I have to do a nudie run? Is those the rules? Bloody hell, mate, I'm nervous. Is it like the pool is it like pool when you don't sink a ball? Because I'm nervous over here.
You've got 3 questions to pull it back. And look, if you did your proper revision like I told you with these Winter Olympic sports, you'll get all 3 of these questions. So let's hope you go well to make this a bit of an entertaining one, not just Tahli thrashing you. But we'll move on to the third question. Here we go.
Okay, so we're going downhill really fast, arms back.
Lockie,
flying
downhill
through the
skiing.
air.
Lockie?
Downhill skiing.
Oh, I'm going to need some more information. What's the event called?
Downhill skiing.
I'm afraid downhill skiing is incorrect. Tahli, do you want to go early, go now, or do you want me to play a bit more?
I'm going to go, is it, I don't know if it's called this, but ski jumping?
Ski jumping, you've nailed it. Well done.
This is ridiculous.
3-0. It's not looking good for Lockie's nudie one, I've got to say. You've got two questions to salvage something, Lockie. We'll move on to the fourth one, Lockie. Tahli's won it, so it's game over, basically. You're just playing for pride now, Lockie, and Tahli, you're playing to thrash this bloke. So we'll move on to the fourth one. Here we go.
So it's an ice rink with six men racing, 5 or 6 racing. So they've got helmets on and full body suits. Oh, and
Lockie.
the first 4 have.
Lockie.
Ice hockey.
Ice hockey. Okay, it's Lockie's first point. I'll give him a bit of drum roll to fire him up. It's incorrect.
Oh, what? This is ridiculous.
That's quite unfortunate, I must say. Do you want me to continue it, Tahli?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh,
I'll continue it.
Yeah.
One over, and then the guy at the back skates right past them and wins and looks elated
This is
as well.
Stephen
as shocked.
Bradbury winning
Yeah.
gold in speed skating.
I'm just going to point out full body suits makes you think that they're wearing protection.
Oh, yeah, not wrong. Well, I think that's my mum's not the expert in the sport, but you're exactly right, Tahli. It's short track speed skating. Very well done, Stephen Bradbury. In Salt Lake City. There you go. We're up to our last question now. Lockie.
And also
This is
ice
getting
hockey,
embarrassing.
and
How
I
are
was
you feeling?
correct. Ice hockey has 6 players. So that's what I reckon I was justified a bit, like, as in you have 6 per team. That's why I thought I'm justified.
Yeah, well-
Anyway.
It's not right, though, mate, so it doesn't matter.
heading
Anyway.
in the right direction.
Well, when your
Kind of. Let's hope he heads-
teammate, when your teammate, so I guess not my teammate, but you know, your mum's let me down a bit with the descriptions. But look, we'll keep moving on.
Well, next time you're over here, give her a good spray for that. Anyway, 5th question. Lockie, time to avoid embarrassment, mate. Fire up. Here we go. Question 5.
All right, so we can see competitor warming up on his skateboard. He's fully kitted up in helmet and goggles. Obviously, the gloves and all the protective gear. And now we see him on his snowboard down the hill on a small hill, now into like a dome or a bowl and doing
Lockie, is half, I was about to say half pipe. It's obviously snowboarding. I've got no idea what the snowboarding events. I'll go snowboarding, half pipe, freestyle.
Look, freestyle's not right, but everything else, absolutely correct.
Oh.
Well done. Shaun White in the Pyeongchang Olympics, that was her commentary of. I think he won the gold medal there, but despite Lockie getting that point, Tahli has taken out the quiz 4 points to 1. Very well done, Tahli.
Thanks.
Congratulations, Tahli. I'm sure that's not the only thing you'll be winning over the next month. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. But if you liked this episode, guys, and if you liked any of the other episodes, we've got a pocket profile with Tahli and others that you can check out on patreon.com/where do we begin. You get all the stuff on our Patreon for just $3, which is really not much at all. Very much worth it, I'd say. So check that out, patreon.com/where do we begin. If you liked a chat with Tahli, I reckon you'll definitely like the pocket profile we did with her and others. But Tahli, I reckon we haven't got much else for you unless Lockie's got something.
Nah, I'd just like to thank Tahli for jumping on board.
Yeah, Tahli, thank you so much for coming on. It's been really good. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had a blast. The quiz was fun. I like the quiz.
Thank you. And thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you very, very soon with another special Winter Olympics episode.